I often get a lot of questions about awakening and people experiencing a lot of pain and suffering after awakening, where they believed that awakening would spontaneously take away all of their problems and they would experience perpetual bliss immersed in samadhi for long hours. But even after experiencing all the blissful states, the pain remains, the suffering remains. And then there is this fundamental question: is there really respite in this world, or are we eternally destined to suffer? So let's get into this in depth and see the whole structure of what awakening truly is. And I am presenting this to you only as a concept, which is based on my personal experience and not as the truth. So the first concept is awakening is a crack in the structure of persona, the personality. This crack offers a glimpse into the wholeness, that is our true nature. So when this glimpse happens, there is a profound realization or understanding that in the world of opposites, everything comes attached. For example, happiness comes attached with unhappiness. Joy comes attached with pain. When this is fully understood, that is when the awareness goes beyond the limited separate self into the vastness of being. But what happens is, immediately after the crack, the mind is still habituated to the old patterns, to the old way. It is still attached to the old ideas, how one should be or should not be. So that comes from years of cultural conditioning. How one should behave, how one should speak, what is the right occupation, what is the right person to find a partner, starting a family, building a business, making money, lots of money, acquiring property, accumulations, or it can even be acquiring a lot of spiritual knowledge, which is all the same thing. So this thing of seeking, acquiring, and becoming or unbecoming, it can be both ways. It can be, I am right now unwhole and I want to become better. I want to become whole. That is the process of becoming. Unbecoming could be that I'm unworthy and I want to let go of my unworthiness. That is the process of unbecoming, which is the same movement as becoming. And the fundamental issue is a fear. The fear that we will not be accepted by the society. A fear that we will be rejected. A fear that we will not be seen in a certain way by the world. And somehow that conditioning is so deep within us because, since childhood you've been told to perform. Perform in school, perform in life, perform in all activities, all areas of life, and not just perform, but perform well. Now the thing is, when everybody is performing well, who is the one that is performing the worse or not so good? So not so good is not good enough then. One has to be good enough, extremely good enough. And we find ourselves in this rat race, constantly running and chasing after goals, rather than simply allowing life to flow through and bring whatever it needs to bring and accept whatever it offers. So the first insight that spiritual awakening offers is that it cracks this whole structure, this whole thought, which is tied to a sense of separation within. It is from that place of centeredness, from that separation, which is identification with a name and form as a separate entity, believing oneself to be the initiator and doer of actions. That is the fundamental illusion that people live before awakening. After awakening, that whole structure begins to dissolve. And there is this one fundamental question only. If I'm not the doer of my actions, who really am I? Who am I? And that question alone leads to the freedom, the liberation that one seeks. So when the mind, even after awakening, having seen the glimpse, follows the old patterns, there is a natural dissonance which creates tension. It is two opposing beliefs. One side, you feel like life is to be lived in a certain way, where duties are to be done, where responsibilities are there, A, B, C. I mean, the list is endless. I'm supposed to do it this way. I'm supposed to live my life in this way to please my parents, to please the society, to please my bosses, or to please my friends, or my partner, my spouse, my children. And I keep running after goals that I think will bring me happiness. That is one way of living, which constantly happen before awakening. After awakening, since this whole structure has cracked, and the bliss of the wholeness or the glimpse of the completeness has been seen, the mind still tries to conform to the old ways, but now there is a renewed understanding. And it can clearly be seen that, okay, this is the way of the peace. Peace requires total surrender. But mind says, no, I'm not going to surrender. So there is this opposing forces which pull in two different directions, which cause pain. And this goes on for a very long time, this confusion. And it is all tied to the sense of separation, that I am separate from the rest, that somehow I need to totally be concerned with my ideas, my beliefs, whatever I've been given from this world. I must keep running, keep achieving, keep accumulating, and then I will be happy. But there is a baseline understanding to that, which says that you don't need anything to be happy. Your nature by itself is happiness. So there is confusion. You see, any thought that comes to challenge this confusion merges with that confusion. So, in mind by itself, intellect by itself is not the right instrument for this. To navigate this situation, one has to totally surrender, which means awakening of the heart. And the heart does not discriminate. So one can pursue whatever goals they want to pursue in life. One can work in a corporate job and still be very peaceful. One can be engaged in family life and still be very happy without the needing to become a renunciate or, without doing deep practices for salvation or without chasing after material objects to bring oneself happiness. In total surrender, total acceptance, whatever life offers, if it offers material, that is accepted. If it takes away the material, the accumulations, even that is accepted. So the true state of enjoyment is the one where everything is enjoyed, from accumulation to disposal, or letting go of. So whatever goes away, whatever falls apart, is allowed to fall apart. But when this sense of separateness is strong, this phase, that the seeker goes through is of intense pain. Because now the truth has been seen, the glimpse, the light, the wholeness has been seen. So everything comes back naturally to this: who am I? So what people think about us, what opinions they carry about us, matters only to this sense of separateness. Otherwise, in deep sleep, you're not worried what the world is thinking about you, how people are seeing you, are they understanding you or not, are they liking you or not. Awakening begins to break the whole facade, where it is accepted that there are many people in this world who will not like you, and that as human being you will have all the flaws that are a part of this human mechanism. And just because awakening happened does not take away those flaws automatically. If a change is to happen, it will happen subsequently with time and understanding. But you cannot do anything to speed up that understanding because it is not a function of time. Insight is not a function of time. Insight is spontaneous. It is just like a vision, seeing directly the truth. But when we struggle, having seen the glimpse of wholeness, now we don't feel like doing anything. And that's a temporary phase that hits the seeker. Because there seems no point in doing anything. It feels like I have done this so many times and the reward that I usually get does not bring me any peace. So why should I even bother? Now, it is not to say that one has to leave their job and leave their occupations and just be on the roads or sit in the Himalayas doing meditation. No, that's not the point. The point is, you continue to perform the activities that you perform without worrying about how the world will see you for the work that you do. You're no more concerned with how people are perceiving your work, your ideas, your thoughts. You will continue to just let this impersonal energy flow through you as a part of the creative process. The instrument, which is you, the mind-body organism, is designed to perform, is designed to act. So the action will naturally happen through your body, through your mind, through planning, preparation. All of it will happen. But there will be no background noise after awakening, which will constantly coax you or tell you that you should not do this, that people there are not going to like you. You will be perfectly content with the idea that irrespective of anything, there are people who are going to dislike you. And that you don't have to bear the load of being a good person or an agreeable person. You were a rascal before awakening, you will remain a rascal after awakening. Your rascality is your beauty. It is not a flaw. All the imperfections that God created in us, they are a part of this perfect creation. It is a part of this perfection that the Creator has created, where we are also saying that the creation is also a concept. A deeper concept is that there is no creation, there is no creator. There is simply this, whatever is arising. But that is a different discussion and it's separate from this topic. Right now we are immersed in appearances. Now we do realize that it is the same consciousness which powers all human beings. But fundamentally, at the material level, there are differences. So awakening does not demand you to be a certain way. It does not make you conform to a certain idea. You don't necessarily have to be a very loving person or someone who has to accept the world completely for whatever is going on. No, you can completely disagree with the world. You can choose people that you like or dislike. You can choose to, hang out with people you like and ignore the ones that you do not like. You do not have to necessarily be compassionate all the time. When the compassion arises, exercise the compassion. And when it doesn't arise, just be yourself and be your authentic voice. You can be different things at different times without worrying about good or bad, right or wrong, moral or immoral, virtue or vice. The human organism experiences a certain level of eccentricity after awakening because the filters are broken. Some of the filters which were installed by the society, a society that Jiddu Krishnamurti would say is sick at its core. And I do agree with that. At the core, there is unconsciousness, where people they don't even have a clue of what exactly is happening and how it is happening and what repercussions it has. Because every action has consequences and we are in causality. To accept causality is to get out of unconsciousness. To see one's own unconsciousness as a part of this flawed system, or let's say perfect system, whichever way you would like to perceive it, is to be beyond it. The fundamental problem after awakening comes in our relationships, in our friendships, in our associations with other people, because we do not relate at the same level as we related earlier. Earlier, our mind was conditioned with a lot of information, which was shaping whatever was coming out as expressions. Some of us may have a lot of inclination towards making more money, or getting more fame, or being recognized for one particular art or field or line of work. Or some of us may be too identified with the roles, like a father, mother, daughter, son, spouse, sister, brother, priest, CEO of a big organization, actor, film star, rock star, spiritual guru. That's one of the biggest. I am the spiritual guru, the knower of all. That is the greatest identification, which causes a lot of pain. So, all these roles, all these associations become weak after spiritual awakening. Does that mean that our love for our loved ones reduces? No, not at all. But the way we relate to our loved ones, that changes. Earlier, you may be very expressive in a very artificial way, and you may tell your partner that you love them. Oh, I love you so much. I can do this for you. I can do that for you. I'm going to give you whatever you want. I'm going to keep you this way, that way. I'm going to get big cars for you. I'm going to earn a lot of money for you. We will go on vacations, fancy vacations. We will dine out, eat in fancy restaurants. It could be anything. But after awakening, all of that structure may be completely destroyed. And you may say that I'm here with you right now, and I'm offering myself completely as presence. And I want to experience an intimacy with you which is way more deeper than any of these things, like going for fancy vacations or trying to bring expensive gifts or presents. So your way of relating to the world may change, and that may begin to form a crack in the relationship as well. And even this has to be accepted, that some relationships will break apart. In my case, it has happened. many of my relationships broke and fell apart. But then new ones were formed, which brought new energy into the dynamic, a new understanding. It was a profound experience. Every experience, the experience of loss and the experience of gain, they were both profound for me. Because that's how I see life and its natural cycles: pain, pleasure, attraction, aversion, accumulation, loss. Acceptance of all of this brings the true understanding, brings the true peace. So yes, some people may like my work and praise me, which will bring me satisfaction, and I can enjoy that satisfaction. But there are other people who would say, let's say, mean things, who would call me different names: a con man, a fraud, a this, a that, or someone delusional, which is fine too. But it does not, it does hurt, but it does not disappoint. It doesn't make me change my actions. Whatever is happening is simply happening, because it is truly not my actions that are happening. You see, so awakening brings the courage to be disliked. It brings the courage to be flawed. And flaws are seen as a beautiful part of creation and life. Without flaws, there is no life. Without imperfections, there is no life. Without suffering, there is no joy. Without pain, there is no essence of relief. Without a little saltiness, there is no experience of sweetness. That is the flow of life. So enjoy the saltiness, enjoy the sweetness, enjoy the poverty when it happens, enjoy the wealth when it happens. None of it is being done by you, it is all happening for you. The universal law is playing out this entire thing that we call creation. The best thing that can be done, if it is God's will for you, is to bring your attention inwards. Not worrying about what is happening externally, but to see what is happening within. Give light to this, what is happening here and now. And then something transformative happens. Not only do you become peaceful, but through that light that radiates from you, even others borrow that peace, and that radiance becomes a pointer for them to experience their peace within themselves and recognize that the universal peace of beingness, of amness, of isness is the common factor that shines within us as the I. And the more we are with this I, we see that it is unreal, that it comes from a light that is reflected. And the light itself is the truth in which this I shines. So there is no one out there who's separate from you, disliking you. There is no world out there, it is all here. It is this mind which is shaping all these ideas of separation, because mind by nature is separation. I can never know what is in your mind, because I don't believe there is such a thing as mind reading. We can take guesses, yes, but truly, every thought cannot be read. But the ability to perceive the light in which the thought shines, including the I thought, that light is common to all. And you are that light. And the greatest irony of our lives is that we seek refuge in the movement, trying to become, trying to attain, trying to acquire, trying to accumulate. Whereas the truth is that the light that you're seeking is simply here. It is closer to you than your thought. You are that light. If you give the opportunity for the mind to be quiet, as Papaji said, even for a millionth of a second, you will recognize enlightenment or awakening, whatever you want to call it. You will see it, even for a millionth of a second, because there will be a crack, instantaneous crack in the structure of your personality and glimpse into the wholeness, into the vastness. It is just that you fight that this show of constant suffering that you experience continues. When you stop fighting and surrender to your true nature, which is here and now, which is this peace, very peace that you're seeking, then you realize that whatever happens externally does not matter. It is all the same energy, it's just a different expression from the same energy. So someone criticizing you, disliking you, not agreeing with you, is also seen as an expression of consciousness from another instrument in appearance. Now you are a different instrument and that is also a different instrument. But neither of you are the doers. The instrument is a programmed entity. And it is the universe, it is the wholeness which is acting through you. This wholeness is creating this entire show for itself. It is the producer of the show and it is also the consumer of this show. So that wholeness is the ultimate enjoyer. It is the ultimate bliss. You are that. So why do you lose your way? Why do you get caught up in stories about what other people think of you, how they perceive you? Why do you attach a value system to yourself and create this strong sense of centeredness in you and give the key to those values to other people? Why do you act like a puppet in other people's hands? Bring yourself here and now in this very moment and see who you really are. And the light will reveal itself. There is nothing to be done. Because doing is an obstruction from being. Doing hides our nature. Being reveals it. It is simpler than you think, because even a thought is heavy. A thought is loaded. It is loaded with dualistic structure. Thought is designed to cut into two, because the thought creates the thinker. But there is simply arising thought. There is no thinker. There is no consumer. There is no producer. Everything is simply arising. And whatever is simply arising is consciousness, in consciousness, as consciousness, is God. So waking up to this presence and being immersed in it and allowing it to grow will always bring you closer to your own essence, even when the challenges of life are in front of you. Even when it's difficult, you will never lose the sight of your being, your presence. You can actually never lose it, because that is the foundation of all experiential awareness. You cannot do without being. Even to do something, you require to be first. But you say, I don't want to do anything anymore because I've had awakening and I think all of this is futile. There is no purpose, there is no meaning to this life. That is your separate self talking. Again, there is a seeking happening about meaning, purpose, assuming that there is a right answer somewhere there. Or someone, some guru, some powerful being will give me my true purpose. Your true purpose is right now, whatever is coming in front of you. That is your true purpose. Whatever goal is being presented to you, do it with a full conviction. Give it your best and leave the outcome. Because outcome is never in your control. Let the instrument act in full capacity. That is where its salvation is. That is where the true freedom is. Trying to control the instrument according to personal ideas, personal desires, or personal notions about how the world should see us, perceive us, will just create more and more conflict and confusion. I want my awakening to be a certain way. I want it to bring me permanently blissful states. I want it to fix my entire life. I want it to improve my family life. I want it to improve my circumstances. No, this is all separation. This is the separative mind, which is continuing its own agenda in order to expand. It is ego, spiritual ego, seeking entry through the back door covertly. Spiritual ego is one of the most devastating forms of ego because it is all based on bypassing the current pain that is happening right now in your life. Life, the instrument will get knocked down every now and then with the blows of life. That is life. But even during that time, if you remember to be, you will find that you will always have the courage to move on and just experience and allow for pure experiencing to happen as it is happening, without trying to modify things, changing things, without trying to improve oneself or fix oneself, without trying to create an ideal individual, an ideal human being. There is no such thing as an ideal human being. Awakening does not make you into an ideal, perfect human being. A sage is not an ideal, perfect human being. Sage is himself or herself. Sage eats when they're hungry. Sage shows anger when they're upset. Sage shows love when the love arises for something or someone. Sage is compassionate sometimes. Sage is not very compassionate other times. But there is a difference. Sage does not have this inner restlessness to improve or fix themselves. They completely accept themselves for who they are. They do not seek validation from the external world. They do not try to become better for others. They just accept themselves the way they are. And they go deeper into the question of who they really are. And from that, whatever comes out, they share with this world. And that is how these beautiful philosophies, spiritual teachings, insights have spread in this world, which are all pointing to just one message: that peace is your birthright. It is only your conceptual mind that is trapped in ideas, beliefs, that is causing trouble. If you want to be happy, you can be happy this very instant. And if you want to be sad and enjoy your sadness and go deep into sorrow, then your mind will do that for you. But you see, when the awakening happens, this whole structure gets cracked. And at that time, the seeker says that this is very painful for me and I do not like it. But over time, when the deliverance happens and when there is experience of true peace, then the mind or body organism says that this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Now, if you can realize this while this is happening, you find that you're automatically free from the dark night of the soul, from this pain, from this misery. There is no misery for anyone. There is just whatever is arising. There is just this moment of eternity where everything is manifesting as variety, variations. It's just our mind that labels good, bad, right feeling, wrong feeling. The moment you realize that all of this is a facade and the mind turns inwards and begins to question its own existence, that is when the true revolution happens. As Jitumush Krishnamurti says, that is when the true psychological revolution happens. When we go into the depth of our very being and see, what is this me? What is the nature of this me? Why is it here? And what is happening?